timekeepers. Welcome back to my channel. To those that are new here, welcome. To those that have subscribed recently, thank you for joining me on my journey. Today, I want to talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is episode 7 in season 9 called Game of Thrones. Let's get into it, shall we? Hey, y'all. Well, as you all know, as it always does, it picks up where it left off last week. And this was with Trisha and Mel at that cafe. And this is when Mel was taking Trish through the paces, trying to figure out, do you know where you went? Do you know what house you went to? Do you know what the driveway looked like? She tried to run that all down. And as Trish was failing miserably, not trying to be, I guess too transparent so she can give herself away. Um Pretty much Mel says what was shocking to her is that her friend tried to throw her under the bus and that they brought this to the group as they were having dinner when they were on their girls trip. And she said, and they may have been trying to get a reaction out of her. She said, but she didn't give that to them. She said, but Trish has to learn Trish has to learn the group pretty much. But that would speak volumes to me if I were Trish, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, Mel basically says, well, that was back in 2020 and it's now 2024. And, basically she wasn't there, so she doesn't really care. Whatever happened, happened. So Trish, in her confessional basically says, well, if it didn't mean anything to Mel, why am I getting all these questions? Your reason why you're getting all of these questions, Trish, is because Mel wants to make sure that you're not being phony in her face. Like, you don't want to be in the company of someone who was potentially running with your husband while you were still around, which means that you knew about the wife. And that comes across as a little deceitful. And you don't want nobody smiling up in your face that been with your husband while you were with him. You're no longer with them. It is what it is. He can do what he wants. I can do what I want. But yeah, no. I think Trish might be a little slow, y'all. I don't know. So after that, their conversation, Trish goes and invites Mel to her son's graduation. Her son Xavier, senior high school graduation. And so Mel says, okay, so this is going to be kid friendly. So no drama then, right? And Trisha's like, nope, 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 no drama. Nope, 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 nope. Trish be looking all around, up, down, except for who she's talking to. What is that about? I don't know. Maybe it's more so with Melody. But I noticed in this scene with Melody, she hardly ever wanted to give Melody any eye contact. And I had to be annoying as heck to Melody. But anywho, so Mel says, I will try to make it. And, she tried to at least come out for the kids or whatever. So she didn't have a problem with that. So the next scene is the Fletchers. They are at Chris's new office that he has, I guess, I don't know if he's renting or he bought, but he has to fix it up. He's a lot of work. He's now on northwest side of Huntsville. And they're in there sweeping and cleaning up or whatever, and you can see that the place has good bones. You can see that. I love the columns and everything in there, and I don't know how he can work that into his new office space, but if they do it right, it should look really, really nice. But they have to start from ground zero because it looks like it's a lot of work. So as they were there cleaning up, Martell pops over. And Martell says that he was raised 5 minutes away from where the office is in north side of Huntsville. Um and they're all like getting the pleasantries out the way. Hey Martell, look at you, looking all this and that, woo woo woo. Now gives him all his little compliments and everything. And so he was like, yeah, I think they start talking about Marcel. And Marcel's like, why you had to bring his name up? And because I think he mentions that, yeah, Marceau is also building his house on this side of town as well. He was like, why you have to mention him? He said, I don't want to hear nothing about that dude. And he said, if Marceau had a problem with me, why didn't he come to me? Why did he have to air all that stuff out like right there? And Chris said, you felt like Marceau started it? And Chris said, y'all said so much. And Martell said, well, yeah, we both went low or whatever, but he should have came to me if he had an issue with me. So now pipes up and says, well, she thought that, they were both saying a lot of stuff, but Martell was saying some stuff. Like his stuff was like heavier than Marceau's. That's how she came across. And she said, I thought you were wrong for bringing Letitia into it. And Martell says, well, she brought up Melody. And Nell says, well, I thought Marceau brought up Melody. He said, well, yeah, Marceau brought Melody up, but Tisha chimed in. And Martell said, I've been following the bro code since the beginning. But Marceau wants to talk about me all over social media. He's still mad about that interview. So he felt like Letitia inserted herself in between Marceau and his argument, and she should have stayed out of it. And he starts to blame Tisha for him and Melody's divorce. He kind of says that, whenever Tisha and Melody would meet, Tisha would always like throw stuff up in Melody's face to remind her of what, I was doing. He said, and I was being an asshole. I was doing things to hurt Melody. She said, but she kept throwing it up in Mel's face. And, and a lot of things, he said, I don't know what would have triggered Melody to go to the next phase to divorce me type thing. I'm paraphrasing. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm listening to this. Martell is really delusional or something. Because I'm thinking like, well, first of all, maybe it was the fact that you were cheating. Second of all, maybe it was the fact that your mistress was calling her phone, was calling your phone. Maybe it was the fact that you were leaving out during COVID to go work out, yet you were going over your mistress's house, spending time with her. And maybe the bombshell of it all, when even though y'all were going back and forth with all this, she did decide to go back with you, have a fourth child. You still wouldn't leave your mistress alone. I don't think Letitia had anything to do with that, right? And then once she realized you weren't going to leave and you were still going to deal with her, she decided to part ways. But the bombshell of it all, then you had a baby with her. Tisha had nothing to do with any of that I just said transpired. Yet you want to say it's because of what Letitia kept throwing up in Melody's face is the reason why Melody wanted to go to the next phase. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I'm missing. Because Martell has a lot of nerve. That was so stupid. Like, and Chris and Nell are just sitting there like looking at him like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know they had to be like, this ninja is crazy. And I know when Mel watched this, her thing was like, huh? And I already know what Tisha was saying. Oh my God. So the next scene is Ken, and he meets up with one of his longtime friends. His name is Will. And he said he's been knowing Will for about, I guess, over 20 years. And, he tries to keep up to date with what's going on with him and Trish. So they meet at this bar called Wicked. And Will basically says, well, how's everything going? What's going on with you and Trish? And he said, everything's fine with us. He said, the only problem we have is that ex-husband or that husband of hers, Marquez. At the time, he was just a husband, right? He said, well, tell me how the dinner went. And so Will tells him, he says, tell me how the dinner went. And so Ken says, well, basically, it kind of went better than I expected. He said, because, he's so emotionally driven. He said, I was expecting hands to be thrown, plates to be flying. He said, but it actually wasn't that. Because, he's not mentally stable, he says. And he said, I feel like he's resentful towards me because I'm being more of a father to his kids than he is. And I think he said, I think that's part of the reason why he won't divorce Trish, because he's trying to act like he wants her back so he can be this spectacular father. And so Will says, well, do you think that he would be a better father, or you think he would live up to what he says if he were to get back with Trisha? He said, hell no. He said, that's just to get rid of me. So Ken goes on and says, after Trish, signs the papers, then, we can probably move forward our relationship. So Ken says, so if we sign the papers, he said, are y'all going to get married? He said, well, once she signs the papers, he said, I was kind of joking with her. He said, but I'm serious. He said, I will go get a ring. So he said, but he also says he doesn't want to pressure her. He doesn't want to, push her into something that she really doesn't want, because she has made it clear that she does, even once she gets divorced, she doesn't want to jump right into being married again, because she's been married forever, it seems like, to Marquez. But even though they weren't together, she was still married. She wants to take it easy and let it be natural, I guess. So he said he's supposed to be coming to the graduation party for Xavier. And we'll see how that goes. And so his cousin, it's not his cousin, his buddy Will says, well, if it gets weird, he said, you might want to bring up to Trish that this is something that you've been tolerating, but you just don't want to deal with it anymore. And maybe he needs to not come over there anymore. And I don't know if that's good advice or not. Now, granted, his kids are there. So anywhere his kids are, he should be able to come. But if it's their home, maybe they could make other arrangements for, maybe he could pick up the kids and take them with him. You know what I mean? And now I think at this particular time, he wasn't living in Atlanta. He was living in Atlanta, so he was doing a lot of commuting back and forth. But now I think he's moved to Huntsville, so he's there. So if he doesn't want, so I guess the conversation should be more like, if he wants to come get his kids should go over his house, or Trish can drop him off over there, or if he wants to spend time with them. He really doesn't need to have to come to Trish and Ken's house to visit the kids. The kids are old enough now where they can, say they can take an Uber to him or whatever. So the next scene is Trisha and Destiny pops over. But this is, I guess they're setting up outside. Trisha has people setting up, I guess, a tent or something outside because they're putting the framework down. And Destiny pops over and they start talking about, getting ready for this graduation party. And Trish says she can't wait for Xavier to leave. And Destiny said, Trish, you're supposed to be sad. She said, no, 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 no. I want him to leave so I can go and party with him. And she was like, huh? She said, I can go over there and check on him and just pull him by his ear if I see him doing something out of pocket. And Destiny's like, well, no, you don't want to be a helicopter mom. She said, no, I'm not trying to be a helicopter mom. She said, but I want to, I want to turn up with him. And Destiny's like looking at her like she's really weird. Like Trisha's really weird. To me, she's weird as hell. As they're talking, her doorbell rings and it is the notary because she's going to be signing her divorce papers while Destiny is there. So the notary comes in, introduces herself or whatever. They sit down at the kitchen table and Destiny's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, what, like, why is she there? Like, why is she a part of this? Like, why wouldn't she tell her, like, so Trish explains to her that, yeah, I'm signing my papers, my divorce papers. And Destiny's like, like that's so personal. Like her thing is she's sitting there with the notary at the kitchen table and the notary goes, stamps it. And that's it. So, Destiny comes over to the kitchen table and she starts talking to Destiny. She said, well, should I be excited? And Destiny said, well, you should feel how you're supposed to feel, like however that is. And she said, I don't know. It's just been so long, a long time coming. And she said, I don't know whether to cry happy tears or whether to cry sad tears. I don't know I don't know how to feel. And she's just talking real fast. And you know how Trish talks. And I don't know to y'all. To me, Trish is a ball of nervous energy. And I don't know if that still comes from the fact that she's still not used to filming or she's just I don't know what it is because she just comes across like she's so nervous all the damn time. Where in the beginning it was horrible. Now it's just bad. Like there's some progress there, but now it's just bad. But I do notice that she's feel more comfortable talking to Destiny, and I guess it's because she's worked with Destiny and she trains Destiny. She can look Destiny in the face. Where in the scene with her and Melody, she was looking here, she was looking there, she was her eyes closed, she was looking down. She hardly would ever give Melody any eye contact. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, let's move on. So, Destiny basically told her, she said, well, because this is the end of a phase for you or end of a chapter, she said, by you divorcing him, even though y'all want together, she said, you will go through a grieving process. And Trisha's like, no, I don't think so. She said, because it's been so long. She said, it's been like 5 years. She said, no, we've been separated. Destiny, like, it doesn't matter. You're going to go through something. Like, Destiny's basically letting her know, you're going to go through something. But I don't agree with Destiny totally because sometimes, and I went through a divorce, and I'm just going by my personal experience. I went through a divorce, but I went through my grieving process while my husband was still in the house with me because we were like not trying to figure it out at this time, but he was still here, but we were going through so much while he was still here. I went through my grieving process while he was here. Like I was like we were living together, but we're still separate. Like I would go to New York trips with my sister, my family, and he didn't have a clue where I was at. Like I was out of state. He wouldn't even know. You know what I mean? I wasn't running with anybody at the time. I didn't start seeing anybody until he actually left. But you can go through your grieving process while you're in the midst of stuff. So I don't totally agree with Destiny. Maybe that's how she went through hers. But that's not in everybody's case. And plus, Trisha has a landing pad because she's not by herself. I don't know if Destiny was by herself. She has Ken to land on. Because she's getting divorced, I think because she has a landing pad, it's going to be a little softer for her. She may not go through a grieving process because she's had the support of Ken all along. Going through the motions, trying to get to this stage with Marquez. Or Marquez. I don't know his name. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't know. What do y'all think? Let me know. Leave it in the comments. So she says, Destiny says, so now that you've, signed the paper, she said, are we going to start planning a wedding? She was like, wait a minute. hold up. She said, they can't even dry on this. Wait a minute, hold up. Like, slowly roll. She was like, I'm going to take it slow. And I'm thinking to myself, it's been 5 years though, Trish. How much slower do you need it to go? And so she was like, I'm not going to rush into anything. She said in her confessional that Ken does check all the boxes for her. She said, but so did my ex husband. And look how that turned out pretty much. But my whole thing is, what boxes was your ex husband checking? Y'all were in high school. You know what boxes to be checking. You know what I mean? So I think this right here, Trish might be kind of a little phony, because if y'all were high school sweethearts and you were pregnant with Xavier, he wasn't checking no boxes. Okay. That was a marriage of convenience, or a marriage of maybe the right thing to do type thing. Y'all were young, thinking that y'all were in love. No such thing. So stop it. Just say that you're not ready to get married, or you don't want to marry Ken. But if you don't, he's going to move on. And I don't know if you want him to do that. So anyway. So a part of her reason why she doesn't want to rush into it right away is because she says she needs to work on herself, right? She needs to work on her communication. Yes, that is a need. And she needs to work on her temper. I don't know. I ain't seen this temper yet. She doesn't really get angry. At least is that what she's trying to suppress when she's on film? Like, is she trying to suppress her anger? Because I've not seen her get mad or lash out at anybody on the show. So anyway, there's that. So Destiny, so I think she says, so Destiny asked her, how does Ken feel about Marquez at this time or whatever? And she was like, well, his demeanor, he said he's always calm. He said, it kind of pisses me off that, Ken is always so nice to him. And Destiny looks at her, she says, you are crazy. You're really crazy. And it goes off. So the next scene is Letitia and Marcel. I keep looking this way, y'all, because I got my notes. So I'm looking at my notes. So if I keep looking over to the side, that's why. Sorry about that. Because I couldn't remember. My mind is getting because I used to be able to just look at the screenshot that I took and know what they talked about. Now it's like I'm trying to get a little bit more detailed, and I can't remember everything. And plus, I'm getting old, so forgive me. So Letitia and Marcel are at Black, and he asked Letitia what she got going on. So she said, well, later on I have to meet up with Mila, and I guess she gets to do something with her. But she says I also have to take, I guess, Marcel Jr. to go get his senior pictures taken. And Marcel's like, his senior pictures? Like, he didn't know. Like, Marcel, do you live in a house with them? Like, how come you don't know about that? She said, yeah, his senior pictures for his yearbook. He said, oh, okay, for your yearbook. He said, keep me up to date with that. Keep me what's going on. Okay, Marcel, aren't you living with her? Or y'all still separated? Y'all need to come forward and let us know. What's going on? Why don't you know about that? So he says, so Tisha says, okay, no problem. She said, that's your one and only son, or something to that effect. I don't even know why she made that comment, but it was a little odd. And he said, yeah, my only begotten son. But wasn't there rumors in the past that he had an older son? Like, wasn't that something that was being spread on social media? I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly he has an older son. That's what I thought. Maybe not, but that was the rumor, and it was supposed to even be by one of Tisha's cousins, I think. But I don't know. Who's to say? I digress. I'm sorry. Not trying to be messy, y'all. I just remember what I heard. So Marcel says, Mel hit me up, and as Tisha's drinking her thing, she tries not to make a reaction. I mean, it's real cool and calm. She's getting good, right? So she goes, oh yeah? She hit you up? What'd she say? He asked he asked Tisha how her and Mel were. How were they, during this time? And she says, we're cordial. We speak, we can be in the room with each other type thing. And he said, well, you know what cordial means friendly and warm. She said, She said, well, we're fine. We're cool. We're in a good place. And as she's talking, Mel comes around the corner. She was like, hey, y'all. And she was like, God damn, Marcel, what is that smell? Well, he was sitting there smoking one of his cigars. And if y'all don't like cigars, can smell really stank. And I don't know how Tisha said. I guess she's used to it, but I don't know how Tisha can sit there with them. But she smokes cigars too. I've seen her smoke cigars, so maybe she doesn't care about the smell. And some of them probably smell a little better than others. But you don't like the smell of a cigar, they can be really stinky. I don't even like them. I'm more of I can be around. I don't smoke, but I could be around someone that smokes black and mild because they smell like almost like an incense or a pipe. I like the smell of a pipe too, but a cigar, mm-mm. And that stuff that they smoke now as weed, I don't like that either. That stuff is loud and just it's just horrible smelling. And I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant, but even going to work sometimes when I'm on the train and people get on there, they must have had lit up that morning just so they can come, cope at work or whatever. I be like, damn, why you gotta stand so close to me? Like, can you move to the other car? Like, get away, cause that stuff be rank. Anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. So she comes and she said, oh my God, what is that smell, Marcel? So they sit down and Mel said she was there because Tisha and her had a conversation in the past that if something felt off, that they would make sure that they come together and talk about it and not let, not hold stuff in and let things fester. And she said, I also had a similar conversation with you, Marcel. She said, so I'm here because Martel has sent me a text and he was saying that y'all were saying at Destiny's Adult Field Day, y'all were saying some degrading things about me. And Marcel said, well, did he tell you what the degrading things were? And Mel said, no, I didn't even respond. She said, because he's really not supposed to be reaching out to me anyway, outside of the kids. And so Marcel and Tisha said, well, the only time your name came up is when it was the argument between Mel. He said it was an argument between me and Martel. He said, only time your name came up is when I said, that Martel's the type of guy that would ask whether or not me and you slept together or whatever. But that's not what he said. He did say it a little bit more degrading than that. I think he said something like, Martel would ask me, did Mel try to give him head? That's what he said, but he actually said the other word. So, and he cleaned it up for Mel, and it was respectful. But I mean, the gist was there, I guess, if that's for lack of a better word. I don't know what to say. Anyway, so Mel was like, well, I'm glad I didn't go with this. She said, because I didn't know what to think. She said, but he always is lying. She said, I can't get over why he's always lying. He's such a liar. And then Marceau in his confession was saying that he's probably trying to align himself with Mel because he needs someone with a bigger bite. And, he needs someone with a bigger bite. And Mel came out and asked him, she said, well, didn't you give him some work? He said, I gave him some work. He said, I've loaned him money. And Mel says in her confession, she said, I think the Scotts are finally seeing what I've been experiencing all along. She said, she said, when her and Martel broke up, she said she didn't go around to everybody talking about Martel and trying to get them to pick a side. I don't know if I ever believed that because I think she was mad that they didn't pick her side. But she said because she didn't talk to his friends, because she realizes they were his friends, they chose the side of the person that was still talking. And I'm sure he was. And they were saying all kinds of stuff. And then with the revenge pee, by them not knowing that maybe that wasn't him or whatever, they had all that he was running, telling them or whatever. I think once they found out that he had been lying and doing stuff, they really kind of figured Martel out. Martel is an ass. I'm sorry. But Melody said, she feel as though maybe because he was doing the talking, that's why they flocked to Martel's side. But now they're seeing the light. So the next is Ken and Trisha's party. Um, they are preparing for the party, and Trish comes in and gives Ken a kiss, and she tells him that she signed the papers, and that puts a little smile on his face. So he's like, moving on to the next phase. So she asked him, she said, "Do you think I need to mention it to Marquez? Is that appropriate?" And so Kim was basically saying, maybe, just be nice and just be courteous. And, we don't want any drama around our kids. What? So people start arriving. His mom and his sister come in first, and his mom looks really young, and he has a younger sister. So, but I keep forgetting these people are. I don't know, how old is Trish and Ken? Are they like? Well, she said that she's more like she went to school with Martel's brother, so I'm sure they're in their 30s. They may be in their younger 30s, maybe. Maybe she's 33, 34, something like that. And her and Kim must be around the same age. And then I guess his little sister looked, I guess she was in her 20s, so that's about right. She might have been 27, 28 or whatever, but she looked younger than that. But we normally do, because, just saying. Um, so people start arriving. I think the next people to arrive was Destiny and Lance, Maurice and Kimmy. Kimmy brings her a bottle of what's that stuff called? Grand Marnier. I think that's the bottle, because my cousin, that's her favorite. She brought her that, and Kimmy was like, "My mama told me not to come without being, don't come go to nobody's house being empty handed." And Trisha's like, "Oh, how did you know this was my favorite?" She says, "I listen." Right. And then I think, I don't know, do they show? I think they show Nell and Chris coming in. They show Melody arriving. And next thing you know, here comes Marquez around the corner. He comes in, and he comes in with another guy. I'm not sure who he is, but I guess it was a family member or whatever. Maybe he felt like he needed backup. Who knows? But he came in. Ken sees him and his buddy Will are standing there next to him. So Ken sees Marquez and them come around the corner, and they were like, "Oh, here we go." So they're all mingling, and you see them outside, and then it looks like, I don't know what type of relationship that Marquez has with his children, being that he lives in Atlanta. He's not always around. But I know him and his son have probably a pretty good relationship, only because he's older and he was there with him more so when he was younger. But he stopped his daughter, like he had to stop her in her tracks. It's not like she ran up to him. He like, "Hey," he grabbed her by the face, gave her a kiss and everything. He said, "You look cute," and everything. So I don't know. It was just weird. It was a weird vibe that he was given. And then she walked off and started talking to somebody else. And then looks like he gets everybody together. He was like, "Let's make a toast." This is Marquez. He's like, "Let's make a toast." First he comes in, he was like, "Hi, I'm Marquez. I'm the dad." It was like really weird how he was going around introducing himself. He said, "Hello, I'm the dad." You know, and Ken said people were just looking down or whatever. He's like, he put like a different vibe on the atmosphere. So he gets everybody together, gets all the men together. He tries to make this toast. He was like, "Toast to the kids and our wives." And people like, "What?" But he doesn't, needless to say, he does not know that Trisha signed those papers. So, and I guess Ken don't want to tell him. So, he don't want to bust his bubble. But Ken is real. I mean, he refrains from a lot. I don't know if I would have told him, be like, "You ain't got no wife." But no, I guess he couldn't do that. It wasn't the time or the place. And it's really hard to put yourself in that type of situation. You know what I mean? But Marquez seems like a pretty. I like he was trying to throw a little light shade towards Ken's way. Like that's kind of low blow. But then he gets into this huddle with Chris Fletcher, Maurice, and it looks like Lance. He says, I don't know y'all, whatever. And he was like actually asking them for advice. And he goes into this long drawn out story about, I guess, what's going on or whatever. And Chris in his confessional says, I just met him. He said he's asking me for advice. He said, I don't, he really didn't want to get involved in that. So, I guess they try to give him, off the cuff, like, well, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And they were being really nice about it. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you asking these men for advice and you don't know them? Like, what? Or you just trying to get camera time? Maybe that's it. Camera time. Marquez he ain't slick. He ain't slick. So then Melody's in the house. It looks like she's talking to Trisha. And Trisha is, they're just talking about, how I don't really know what they were talking about. See, that's what I can remember. I don't know. They were talking, and as they were sitting there having a conversation, Marquez comes up and joins us. So Mel says, come on in. And so he tries to act like he's being real awkward. He said, well, this is real awkward for me. He said, because I've never been invited here before. Trish pipes up, said, that's a lie. He's been here before. He's not. He said, well, I haven't never been invited in before. He said, that's a lie too. He said, he's been in the house. He's been in Xavier's room. He's been in Dory's room. He's been, or whatever. He said, well, I need to ask you a question. He was like, how do you, Martell, how do you and Martell? And Melly's looking at him like, okay, where you going with this? He said, Martell, your ex. And Trisha said, and he looks at Trisha and said, you know him too. And Trisha says, yeah. And Melly's looking at him like, look, dude, I just met you. She said, and this is not the time or the place. She said, why are you bringing up Martell? And his thing is, how do you deal with, how do you co-parent with someone that triggers you? And Melody says, well, the first thing you need to do as far as to deal with, co-parenting with your ex, she says, try not to be the trigger. And she says, she looks at Trish and she says, I can understand why you might be triggered by Trish. She said, because it's triggering for me right now. And Trish says, well, I speak in silence. He speaks out loud. And Melody's like, you're speaking out loud right now. I was like, oh my God. And Melody, and she is looking at him and her going back and forth, and she just like eating. She was like, something about, she said it looked like they had like some type of tension going on between the two of them. She was like, you could tell that they were high school sweethearts and they know each other. And she was just like, this is something else. But anyway, so after that goes down, and I might redo this segment over because I really didn't get all of my notes. Did I write any notes down for this? I think I stopped writing notes because I got tired of writing. Ken wants to make an announcement, and he wants to thank everybody for coming, and thanks for supporting the parents, him and Trish. And then you see Marquez trying to work his way up there where he's making his speech. And he says, hello, I'm the dad. And it goes off to be continued. But, I don't know why Ken is acting like, he said, he's making this speech about how they're young parents and all that kind of stuff. Dude, you are their father figure. And that's okay to be, but you're not their father. Regardless, at the end of the day, whether Trish is divorced from that man or not, Marquez is still those kids' father, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't take that away from him. Whether he's deadbeat or not, whether he's in Huntsville or Atlanta, those are his kids. Get over it. That's where I'm at with it. Y'all, that was pretty much the episode. I probably didn't, go into detail but about the graduation party because it really wasn't a lot. It's just that Marquez was acting really funky. I don't know. He put like a different vibe on the cookout. And then Ken is so hard in trying to, where he claims he's trying to always include him, he's always trying to throw up in his face that he's not included and like he doesn't do his part. Because he was like, thanks, and cheers to all the fathers that take care of their kids. He up there throwing his light shade too, and it's two-sided. It's not just Marquez. Ken does his stuff too. And then you got Trisha in the middle and she just looking down. Because, of course, she don't want to look at nobody. Because she's devious. That is a devious woman. My opinion. Y'all, let me just say again, before I exit out, that everything on my channel is alleged and it was also my opinion and done for entertainment purposes only. I just want to get that out of the way. I probably should have said that first, but better late than never, right? So, before y'all leave out the building, I want to make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And until next time, everyone be blessed. Peace.